Scottish winter climbing is becoming more and more popular, and every year we're seeing more and more international visitors, and with lots of locals pushing the limits, it's really sort of been put on the map. The jewel in the crown of Scottish winter climbing is Ben Nevis, really. It's an amazing mountain with lots of routes and lots of variety. And one of the most classic routes and the longest routes on the UK mainland is Tower Ridge, and it's a winter classic. The grade is quite attainable for a lot of people, but it's the length that tends to catch people out, and a lot of the difficulties are concentrated high up. So you've had quite a long day before you get to the crux, for example, and there's arguably more than one crux. As well as that, it's Scottish winter, it's high on Ben Nevis. You've got all the things of the elements and all the weather that has to throw at you to deal with as well. And then when you top out, you're on top of the bend, you've got to get off. So whilst the difficulties technically aren't high, there's quite a lot going on, and it's one of the most classic and spectacular routes in Scottish winter. Climbing out of the Douglas Gap is the first real sort of technical challenge on the ridge. It's just a short mixed pitch, but actually if you can climb this, you can technically climb anything on the ridge. After the Douglas Gap, the next sort of long part of the ridge, really it's not technically difficult, but it's all about the route finding. One place, for example, that people often go wrong is the Little Tower. They go too direct and don't traverse out right. And they also often mistake it for the Great Tower, thinking they're higher up the ridge than they really are. High up the ridge now on the eastern traverse, it's technically quite an easy pitch really, but it's a very famous pitch and a very exposed pitch. It doesn't have lots of gear all the way across it, and it can be quite imposing, especially if it's banked out with fresh snow. Tower Gap is probably one of the most famous features on the ridge, and it can be seen from a lot of other routes on the mountain. A lot of people would call this the crux of the ridge technically, and also because it's high up on the ridge, and bars your sort of your finish onto the plateau really. From a rope work point of view, it's probably the most complicated bit of the ridge because there's some descending down into the gap and then you have to climb out of it. So rope management and good rope work is important. And then shortly after this, you're on the summit. If it's been a long day on the ridge, it's easy to arrive at the Great Tower as it's getting dark and be benighted there. And a lot of people will look for escape routes or options for getting off the ridge at this point. But I'd always encourage people, if they can, to push on for the summit when they get there. Because after the gap, it's really only a short way to the summit, and that's by far the easiest way off the hill. Topping out from any Scottish winter route can often be the most serious part of the day. You've come off a very well-defined route, and you probably know roughly where you are, and you top out onto a plateau like the plateau of Ben Nevis. It can be complete whiteout and very little to go off. So actually being able to navigate well, and descend the mountain safely is a really important skill. And a lot of people will get into trouble on a descent if the conditions are really bad or if there's a whiteout. Things like cornice edges and avalanche threat. All these things can be a hazard in winter when descending.